sitting in my lap all afternoon pretty much.
I sometimes let my dog participate in my business meetings on Zoom calls. So he sits in my lap and the people get to know him.
Not too nice.
All right.
I just want to know, John, the microphone died this morning, so we don't have the floor mic.
Oh, okay.
So we moved the system, we still work with the mic for the residents is down.
Maybe just about right here.
I'm next is for this, yeah, these are for, I mean, this is for,
Give the person a chance to get in. Just a moment. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You can see it. Okay, welcome to the Honey Brook Township Board of Supervisors December 13th meeting. And announcements. In accordance with Resolution 2-212, we inform that Scott Steelson of Vincent Drive is recording tonight's meeting and posting on YouTube. And just do a shout out. Thank you, Scott. I think you're going on 13 years on this point, so thank you. This meeting is also available and being recorded electronically on the Zoom platform. All right, I think what we have now is a certificate presentation by Kristy.
Yep. So as you know, we had our first ever tree lighting last week, and we appreciate all of those that came out and enjoyed that evening. And there are a couple people in particular to thank. One of them is not here at the moment, Elmer. We appreciate her support for the ceremony, and she made a gift to the Honey Brook Food Pantry in honor of her father to support the event. So next time we see her, we'll be sure she gets that.
She's here by Zoom, but
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Hi, Dad. And next, if I could have Kevin Doherty come front and center, please. So the Honey Brook Township Board of Supervisors takes pride in recognizing your contribution to our community. We appreciate your support for our first ever tree lighting ceremony and for serving as host to the festivities. So thank you so very much. And it's a small token of our appreciation. All right. And Mr. McHugh, if you would come front and center, please. So this is from PSATs.
Oh, okay.
This certificate of service is presented to John H. McHugh in recognition of your 12 years of service as a township supervisor for Honey Brook Township, Chester County. So there you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, well, let's see. We'll look at an open forum now. So on this side of the group, any questions on tonight's agenda? Yes, please come forward and your name and address, please.
Hello, Mary Hamill, 1025 White School Road. So I just wanted to talk about the budget. And I just wanted to thank you for providing the detailed budget. In the future, I would recommend that the detailed budget always be provided up front, as it has been historically, and it's pretty standard. Also, just want to let you know, I preferred the format of last year's budget with the 3 columns with the projected year end, the current budget for that year, and the future budget. Just makes it a lot easier to compare and contrast numbers. But yeah, thanks for getting that out. I did have a couple questions. So under count 405 administrative, there was, last year was budgeted 92,000, this year's 158,000. Is that salaries for office staff?
What item is that?
Administrative, 405.
Point. Give you a point. 310 would be manager, and then there's
405,
12.
Just as payroll, administrative staff. That's the entire administrative staff.
Was there a higher?
There's someone moving full-time that was at 20 hours at the beginning of this year, moving forward. So yes, full-time.
Okay, so how many staff do we have in the office? Two full-time?
There's 3 administrative assistants and myself.
And the 3 administrators?
One is full-time, 2 are part-time, one of the part-time is moving to full-time.
So we're gonna have 3 full-time then?
You're gonna have the manager is full-time and then 2 administrative staff full-time and then 1 part-time administrative assistant.
Okay. Under that heading, 405, 2013, performance review admin for $5,000. What is that, like a bonus or?
So that's performance pay if the administrative staff hits the goals that was assigned in their yearly performance evaluation.
Oh, okay. And then I also noticed 405.14, tuition reimbursement. Is that a new account this year?
That is.
And can you elaborate on that?
Sure, it's going to be for the person moving to full-time and they're electing to not take any of the health care benefits. They would have about $30,000, so the board has, or at least they might approve that tuition reimbursement, which is going to be the ability to help train that person to stay here and offset some costs of not taking the health care benefits.
So we would reimburse them for taking a class somewhere,
Yes, ma'am.
and that's only for that
One employee, yes, ma'am.
one employee
Yes, ma'am.
that's maxed out at 10,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Count 406.46, meetings, conferences, and continuing education went from 7,000 to 20,000.
Correct, so that's just encouraging the board of supervisors and the staff to continue to go to more meetings, conferences, continuing education, so that's a good benefit for the return on investment. And again,
What types of meetings for?
so there could be PSATs, there could be conferences, Kristy went to a board software packet meeting this year. PSATs, there's onboarding classes for all, right? There's other classes that Pennsylvania Municipal is put on, so it's just a host of trainings, and again, we're trying to encourage all of our employees and our professional staff to get this training to help them provide better services.
Maintenance to roads and bridges. I realized there was a project you didn't do last year that you're moving to this year. Can you, what is the project this year?
So we're hoping to continue the paving project on Beaver Dam and West Beaver Dam.
And is that work that our public works department does, or do we send that out?
So they have been doing it in the past. It's been becoming a little bit too tenuous to get that done, and we're actually not paying as much as contracting it out. So this year we're actually going to put it in place, which means material in place. So we're going to have someone do all the projects, the removal, the milling, the laying down of material, the top coating, and the seal.
The capital reserve fund, 409.03, there's $20,000 for a maintenance building project. Are we building something new this year? Is there a building?
No, we're just gonna put that in there, assuming that every other year that we want to try to tackle a project, that we'll repair. There's nothing in place, it's just, the board accepting that should we have a project up to that amount, that they would, acknowledge the fact that we have that already budgeted. Again, if it's gonna be something that's gonna cost $5,000, even though it meets that budget line, it would come back in front of the board. Because this is just a general line item, they would have to vote on specific items.
Okay. Under that same heading, capital reserve fund, 430.751, vehicle expense, the new dump truck for $120,600. Is that just a brand new vehicle, or are we replacing an older vehicle? Or?
So we replaced one vehicle this year. That vehicle is showing up in the next few weeks, and that was for a vehicle we have already sold. And then this new vehicle is going to replace an older vehicle, which is then going to move into our reserve vehicle. So we're going to have to spend. It's going to be a new one, and we're going to keep the oldest one just in case one of our newer vehicles goes down, then we'll still be able to use it.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to know exactly what was paid out of a certain account throughout the year, is that something that we could see or request from the township?
Yes, just go right to them.
The right to know?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And lastly, land preservation. Is there a plan to do the analysis of the program like this year so that we can determine how we're going to move forward with that and the tax?
This is
And
great.
there's been a lot of talk about it.
So this is, next year is going to be the 5-year schedule for the Land Preservation Committee. It's their job to review the land preservation plan, and then they're going to make a recommendation to the board whether the board needs to revisit that program. Based upon what land preservation does, will drive the board to either authorize the revisiting or the looking further into the land preservation plan to see what the needs of the township are. So the Land Preservation Committee will drive that.
Yeah, because I just saw there's going to be like $7 million at the end of this year on that account. So to me, I would say, I think it's time to take a good look at that and consider reducing or if not just eliminating that tax. And I'm very close to the number.
We will have the opportunity. Chey is here this evening, welcome Chey. So we have an opportunity to speak to land preservation.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
we're waiting on applications from Chester County, right?
I believe there's some in the, but I'm not aware of how many. I think that Chey will be able to update us on that.
Okay. Could you just cancel their last 2
Yeah.
meetings?
The applications you
Chester
submitted,
County Library,
but their last meeting was October, I believe, was the last
See.
meeting.
Chester County canceled their last two?
November of the summer.
Okay, explains why I haven't heard from them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Rumor has it there are 4 applicants coming our way.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, I just haven't seen anything. so.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, on this side of the room, any questions? Yes, please come forward.
Valerie Schultz, 165 Caitlin Court. I did send an email last week. I had requested an explanation of some of the line items. I still haven't gotten a response. I'll send out that email again. I would really appreciate it if I could get an explanation of those. One, I think Erin did a really thorough job in going through some of these questions that I already had. But one additional one is about the debt service. Is that the loan that we have on the detention building?
That's the bond they took out to build the campus.
Okay. And from what I can tell, you talked about at the workshop that there were some reserves, and that's part of the reason why we're not in a deficit, right, for 2024 budget. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is the source of those reserves? I know you explained that $100,000 from road work was not used this year, that would be transferred over, but what is the source of the rest of those reserves?
Reserves is this money that has come in as tax or other earned income that hasn't been expended. So we're looking at a fund balance starting January 1st of 2024, about $4.2 million. That just means we have taken revenue over the years and we've been less. So at the end of the year, if we have if we come under budget $500,000 So it just sits in that bank account. So the budget is just saying what we assume is going to come in and what assumes going out. It's just, we're making sure those closely aligned so we don't start running into a negative. You know, to get to $4.2 million, the previous administrator had really tightened his belt and made sure that the essential details were done and that, you know, we continue to increase our revenue to have this fund balance should something have to happen, whether something the township wants to undertake or some hazard happens and we lose some equipment and we need to replace them with cash while we wait on insurance. So it's just a way of fiscally being responsible and having enough money in the bank for the rainy day fund. So the township just has $4.2 million. Again, I think we're going to have revenues in excess of $200,000 over our expenses for this year. So all that means is that $200,000 wasn't expended. So it's setting that fund balance. And then at the beginning of next year, we have $200,000 more than we thought because we just didn't spend it.
So we also talked at the workshop about possibly not having the Zoom calls as, you know, having the capability of making comments or questions. I don't see that on the agenda for today. Is that not going to be discussed?
That's the first resolution for the public meeting rules of code of conduct.
I didn't see that on there.
It's new business G1.
No, I know, but I didn't see it on the code of conduct where you would say that the Zoom calls would be listen only.
We have the current ones.
Yeah,
That's
but-
what's on currently.
That it's going to be listen only?
No, what's on tonight's agenda is what has been observed all of this year.
Yes.
I wasn't going to preemptively put, maybe the board wasn't going to adopt it, so I wasn't going to put the new rules on if they haven't been.
Okay. So, yes, I just want to make a comment. I think hopefully our solicitor can speak to this fact. I really don't think that making the Zoom calls listen only is going to be in accordance with the Sunshine Law Act. I know that law was written rather vaguely, and maybe you guys are going to try and find a way to skirt that, but again, I want to state that I am adamantly opposed to making the Zoom calls listen only for any meeting. That is suppressing the right for residents to have a voice. And quite frankly, if someone's sick, I don't want them coming into the meeting and choosing to bring up an issue because they can't do that on Zoom. So I hope you guys consider that and make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any more comments on this side of the room? Yes, Chey. Just come forward.
Chey Malibu, 410 North Burdell Road. I very much appreciate how Aaron and Val were able to ask questions in this meeting. I appreciate how receptive you guys are to facilitating that discussion and answering those questions. I have concerns, as I mentioned before, about the rules of conduct that they can very easily be used by a chairman to say, you may not ask any questions. We're not going to answer your questions. You may as well say no. I don't want to see that happen in Honey Brook Township. I think this should be a place where people can come to these meetings and get their concerns heard and their questions answered. And that should be enshrined in these as well before they're approved.
Thank you, Chey.
That's all. Thank you.
Any more comments on this side of the room? Do I hear any comments on Zoom? No comments. All right. So that should conclude the open forum portion. So before we move to the consent agenda, I just wanted to step forward and to say that tonight is my last night as the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, and also I'm serving on the Honey Brook Township Board of Supervisors. I found over the years it's been a wonderful experience in that, when I first came to Honey Brook Township, my daughter at one point made an observation and said, "Dad, why are we moving back in time?" And she saw a horse and buggy go by. So it was kind of an interesting change for us. But I think that what was worked very well for me was the support of so many people in the community. And I did want to call out the fact that I had the benefit of
the advice and the generous time offered to me by Don Johnson, who worked with me, Joe Fenstermacher, Greg Carey, Michael Jan, Wes Darby, and Dallas Ford. Those names are former township supervisors. And that's one of the reasons why I feel that I was able to work through a lot of these things over the years. Because the one thing about this position, we are moving forward. We moved out of the industrial age into the information age. Things are changing. Honey Brook is in a unique situation right now. And as I explained how our Amish families are, they hold on to the good of the past, but they are living in the present. So it's a valuable thing that they're showing us, that even as we lose some of the things that from the 20th century, many of us have grown through the 20th century, the days when we didn't walk around with cell phones and everything else, we had to actually talk to one another one-on-one. But what I found that if I had known some of these things when I was in high school, I probably would have made fewer mistakes. And I bring that out because at one occasion I had where this young woman asked me to junior prom. And I said, yes, sure. But I was a senior and I was a few weeks from graduating. I was already joining the Marines and I was already thinking miles away. So when I dropped her off that night, there were tears in her eyes. And what I realized was that I didn't even spend the time with her that night. I was too caught up in myself and things that I was doing in my life that I forget that some people around me. Well, 2 years later, I finished my enlistment. I came home after 15 months overseas. I was now a freshman in college. She was a sophomore. So I approached her, spoke to her, and it wasn't long before I had the opportunity to ask her to the college formal. And she said yes. And when she went to Jordan Court College the following year, she called me up and said, John, will you take me to my formal? I mentioned that because that woman's name was Valerie. And what I found out happened a few weeks ago at the election was that some of the men sitting in this room tonight put tears in that woman's eyes. And I think that was uncalled for. That, if a 19-year-old kid can understand when you make a mistake, but you have an opportunity to correct it, you do something about it. So I just wanted to call that out tonight. So I hope that I recognize that not because of who I am, but because the people who surround me have always reminded me of who I am and why I'm here in Honey Brook Township. And one last point I will say, I've got a passion for what I'm doing here, and it really goes back to September 11th, when it happened, that anniversary this past year. You see, I had a situation where I interviewed for a job, and as I was interviewing, I got distracted, and the manager looked back at me and said, what are you looking at? I go, is that a cloud going by? He said, of course, on the 93rd floor, it was the World Trade Center. I didn't accept the job. So not long after that, I saw a list of names of people who didn't make it out of that building. And the man I interviewed with, his name was on that list. And when I looked at the website, no one on that floor made it out of that building alive. So sometimes, there's events in your life that help you shape who you are. And there was a man I met about that time. He was 25 years old. We had a conversation. He knew politics. He impressed me. But at the end of the conversation, he said to me, I really have given up on politics. And I thought to myself, that's sad. We can't lose that next generation. So a few months ago, I was at a wedding. This middle-aged guy comes up to me, starts talking to me. And I realized, this is Jeremy. That 25-year-old kid is now 45 years old. And I told him that, I got involved in politics. And he said, you're one of the few guys who actually said you're going to do something, and you did get involved, and you did it. And then at the end of the conversation, of course, he said, but I still believe in politics. So I think we got to keep on trying. So that's a message I just want to say that, I appreciate the support, and it's been a wonderful thing for me. So It's time to get back to the business. We'll now move to our consent agenda. So thank you everyone for listening. Yes, Bob?
Can I have a letter, I want it better, I want to read.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm Barbara Conway, 399 Kristy Drive. And it's an appreciation for you, and I appreciate and thank John for his selfless dedication, his time, energy, and the preparation that work entails, which has given our township one of our supervisors, which he has given our township as one of our supervisors over the past 12 years. I appreciate his ability to work respectfully, nonpartisan, by listening and understanding varying points of views with dignity and thoughtfulness, along with his sincere, caring outreach to community members. John has been a lifelong learner as a supervisor, with a good memory for details and precedent, as well as a mentor, possibly in the past 12 years, to newly elected supervisors. I see how he has been called upon to answer questions others could not. I feel that it's important to learn from past mistakes by studying consequential decisions, the impacts, learn from that, problem solve, and innovate. I admire John's actions and efforts to educate himself on ways to protect our environment and our township's precious natural resources, our groundwater, supplying our wells and the surface waters which also seep into our wells here in Honey Brook as keepers of the headwaters of the Grand Line and Christiana watershed, because we all live downstream and downwind. Finally, I appreciate and thank the township supervisors for their decision to install 2 EV charging stations. Personally, I do not have an EV, but I will someday, and all car manufacturers are preparing for the present and future for no emission vehicles. And I want to thank all of our Honey Brook supervisors for the service that you've provided to the community, because we're all in this together. I hope everyone works together peacefully to learn from one another and from community members who have concerns. John, I wish you the best, you and your family, on this next chapter in life.
Thank you.
And
John, I was going to say this, yeah, but now since you started. It's been nearly 2 years since I began attending township meetings. John was the only supervisor to reach out to me with a business card and give me a cell number in case I had questions. He not only took the time to listen to my concerns, but he also provided me with contacts who could give me an education on topics like zoning in more depth. John didn't realize at the time, but by providing me with his version of Local Government 101, he sparked an interest in me in local government that I didn't know existed. I have seen him do this for every resident who has come to township meetings, whether they spoke up at the meeting or not. He has reached out to tell them that he has appreciated them attending the meeting and wanted to provide them his contact information in case they had questions. He didn't have to do this. I'm sure his family would have appreciated more of his undivided attention. In fact, in speaking with supervisors at other local municipalities, this isn't common practice at all. I'm here today to tell you that I have appreciated you going above and beyond, John, for the residents, and at least for me, it has inspired me to be more involved. I also want to recognize John for his positive impact in Honey Brook Township. John has played an integral role in establishing the land preservation program, the Parks and Recreation Committee, and the Veterans Day ceremony. All of these initiatives have greatly impacted on our community in a positive way, and they will be part of your lasting legacy for years to come. John has not been a perfect supervisor. He is as imperfect as the rest of us. Maybe some days he talked about New Jersey one too many times. Or maybe he's talked in circles at times like a typical politician.
That's what makes you a politician.
But unlike a typical politician, he's truly cared about the residents and would take the time to help residents work on any concerns or disputes that they are having. And he showed us that at least at the local level, party affiliation is irrelevant. Regardless of his party affiliation, John has always been focused on fiscal responsibility, support of law enforcement, and allowing and encouraging community comments. My frustration and anger has come from seeing John criticized and wrongly disparaged because he chose to make himself available to residents who wanted to get his input and here are concerns. He has been accused of conducting private meetings with residents in the Honey Brook Task Force, and I can tell you that is an outright lie. John has only attended public meetings where we asked him to attend and get his input on concerns that we have. From what I can tell, these allegations were purely gaslighting. John's only agenda has been to serve the residents of Honey Brook Township. For him to have been characterized as having sinister intentions is absolutely wrong and despicable. I have the utmost respect for his dignified perseverance in the face of very undignified attacks on his character. You'll be missed, John, and I want to thank you for your dedication to your community for the last 12 years, and thank you to his wife and family for giving up so much of his time to serve this community. I wish you the best, and focusing on your family and your business is something that's clearly long overdue.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Ditto.
Thank you. I'm going to get back to the meeting. Thank you very much. So I can move to item E, consent agenda. To approve Board of Supervisor minutes of November 1st, 2023 workshop and November 8th regular meeting. So your motion to accept the consent agenda?
We're doing the entire consent agenda.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Okay. So I hear a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's go to the department reports. And we'll start off with the Board of Supervisors. So I'll just say that the DA COG has not met in a few months. The Western Chester County COG had a meeting here in Honey Brook Township. There's a December meeting that is happening right now, so we couldn't attend that one. That should do it for my part. Tracy, anything on your part?
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you for your service over the last 12 years to the community.
Thank you, Tracy. Laura, do you have anything?
I'll reiterate Tracy's thank you for your.
Thank you, Laura. At this point, I don't see Don Johnson present, so Kristy, would you have a update?
Yes.
Okay, Don did give me a brief report. The roads crew will be finishing up the clearing of leaves from roadside ditches this week. There have been 2 small snow events, so he was very happy to use some of the salt we have for those. And the repairs to road berms will continue until they are completed. He hopes to finish that this month. That's all he had.
All right. Thank you, Kristy, for that update from the Public Works Director. And back to you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I did include a copy of my report in the agenda packet. However, it didn't mention anything about last night's meeting because the agenda needed to be posted yesterday, before the meeting. So, the Community Partnerships meeting from yesterday focused on there were some grant monies that are available to nonprofits in the community thanks to the sponsorship that came in from Harmony Day. So generous sponsors for Harmony Day fund scholarships for 2 seniors at Twin Valley High School as well as nonprofits. So those will be awarded in February. So those details will be coming out next month. And I'll pass them along as I hear about that. The other notable items were that the Recycling Performance Grant for 2021 is $13,138.02. So that's as a result of all the recycling materials collected in the township for that year. I do want to thank everybody who donated to Toys for Tots. Thank you so much. We actually had an overflowing box. I put out a second one because the first one got full up. And I delivered all those to the collection site on Thursday, December 7th. There were about 16,000 children that are receiving toys this year in our area, Chester and Montgomery counties. John asked a question last week So I did some research about the agricultural security area. It numbers about 8,100 acres, and that represents about 73% of all the farmland in the township. So that's all I have.
And I did another one where it's really getting into the details. It said soils going to rank from class 1 to 4, you have to have at least 50%, and that, so it really gets a little
Yeah, I didn't
specific.
know that.
I know. Being with the land preservation, we got into a lot of the soil discussions. It's a little dirty. Okay, let's move on to Warren, the township manager.
Just accept my report. I'm happy to answer any questions as always, and John, I appreciate your mentorship during my first manager role, so I appreciate all the help you provided me for years. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any questions on your report tonight, so any questions? We're good on that. Thank you, Warren. So, Honey Brook Community Library, do we have someone to speak to that?
I do not see anybody here, and I don't believe they sent us their executive report, so.
All right. We'll move to item 6, so Shane, we have Land Preservation Committee. Go right ahead.
Okay. Well, as briefly mentioned earlier, we're expecting news of 4 applicants from Chester County. Haven't heard from them yet, hoping to hear from them soon. And then we'll be reviewing those applications for preservation and forwarding them on to you guys. On the wall behind me, you can see the map right behind Scott shows Honey Brook Township and everything that was preserved in 2004. And then over here, up on this wall, you can see all the dark green and light green on here. And then I think the yellow as well. Different ways things are preserved, but this is where we are today. It's over 1/3 of the acreage in the township being under permanent preservation, which means those are fields that cannot be plowed under and turned into houses. Every time a field does get turned into houses and a farm becomes a development, we get a lot more cars on the street, a lot more kids crammed into the schools, and the demand for public services goes up, and there's an accompanying tax increase. I don't think anybody here ever remembers a time when a big development went in and taxes went down, because it doesn't happen. The land preservation program is still working to keep an additional approximately 3,000 to 6,000 acres of this township from getting turned into housing developments, help keep all of our taxes low, and help keep our traffic as minimized as possible. If you drive down to Westchester on a regular basis like I do, you've seen everything going on through the rest of the county, and you've experienced the ever-increasing length of wait times at traffic lights between here and there. We're going to try and keep farming here in Honey Brook. I also want to add that prior to John's 12 years of being a supervisor, John was instrumental in getting the Land Preservation Committee started, getting the referendum that provided funding put on the ballot, and really dealing with the hardest parts of getting this program up and going. I got to come in late when everything was all up and running already. I just kind of like sit here and watch, and the mechanisms are all in place. Everything's all kind of proven out. It was all unknown territory when John started this. And the success you can see on the wall behind us just continues to be good, and just a great thing for the township. And John, we very much thank you for your contributions and vision.
Thank you, Shane. Appreciate it. There's a question about, so with the land preservation document, would the residents come to the land preservation committee meeting, or how should they make comments on the next update?
Yep, yeah, please do come to meetings. Well, I've seen you there before. You're always welcome. Everybody's always welcome at land preservation committee meetings. We meet once a quarter. The next meeting is going to be January 16th at actually 8 o'clock in the morning, because it's followed at 9 o'clock by the Farmer's Breakfast, which is our biggest outreach event of the year. We're targeting making sure we invite lots of people who still haven't preserved their farms and may not even know about the program somehow. So we want to make sure that we get word out to them. They're with us.
What's the
We're going
featured
to-
speaker?
The featured speaker is going to be, the name I can't remember, from the Oxford Growers Market, I
Oh,
believe,
yeah. That's
which is kind of an auction company put together a few years ago, sort of a cooperative effort by farmers down in that area where they can bring their produce and things they grow and sell them at auction. Anybody who shows up. And apparently it's been a great thing for Oxford and could be a good thing for this corner of the county as well.
Is the closest one is where, in Lancaster? or is
Don't
it-
know. No.
Yeah,
I don't think we have
they were
anything
saying
here.
that the farmers in our area have to drive quite a distance to go sell their goods in bulk, so this would be a huge benefit.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we can get buyers to come up here, and I mean, there's still a lot that could be done there, but it'll be neat to hear about how Oxford was successful with that kind of program in the market.
And Shane's brought me down memory lane, so we originally had Dave Rotel, Henry, and Ben Stoltrus, and Dave Rotel, and I'm trying to think, so in 2026, it'll be the 20th anniversary for the, we just celebrated 10 years for the Parks and Recreation, but back at you for continuing to work on the land preservation program. I appreciate it for you, Chip, and let's see, we've got Mike, and also I'd like
Yep. John R. Stoltzfus from right down the road, and Susan Lacey.
Susan, how could I forget? Susan is 10 years on that and 14 years on the planning commission. Okay,
All of them have been on the committee longer than I have.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, you said the 16th
Yes,
as a Tuesday?
yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Yep.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, that's land preservation, so we turn to the planning commission. I have Mike on Zoom. Go ahead, Mike.
I don't have much to report tonight. Obviously, November was canceled, and tomorrow night's meeting is also canceled. So we'll reconvene in the new year and reorganize at the January regular meeting. So we anticipate seeing some plans and other discussion items coming in for that meeting. I'll update you at next month's meeting on January 2nd.
And happy holiday to you.
And thanks again, John. It's a pleasure working with you. I've been there all 12 years you were there, so
Yes.
went through a lot of the same discussions and other things that happened in that time. So pleasure working with you.
Same. Enjoy working with you.
Thank you.
At this point, we'll go to recreation and parks. Yes.
No meeting in December, but I did want to tighten up a couple of things that our official status for the repaving of the tennis courts. Where would you say we're at? And do we need approval from the board of supervisors to go forward with that? Or as even get the grant for it?
So I actually met with a representative from the DCNR who came out today to meet us at our building to go over the process of the grant. 2025, it opens up in January and it will close in April. I believe the board has kind of given me direction based upon having it removed out of the 2024 budget, the full amount, and putting it out to 2025, that we can go ahead and apply for a grant. We were planning to have multiple grants, typically not more than 2 at one location. They also recommended, encouraged having a grant writer. I actually spoke with a grant writer today. They're going to put up a package together because there's secondary grants we can get through DCED, the Economic Development Council. They have provided pre-made grants as well. So we have to go with the stack of multiple grants. So again, based upon what I hear, that will be presented to the board. If they're okay with being a grant writer and applying for one, we will keep that go ahead at the January 3rd meeting and make sure that we have time to grant application.
Fair enough, 2025.
So the grants, the window is open from January, closes in April for the DCNR. I'm not sure when the DCED grant opens, but those are typically awarded in the fall, so that award would be for a 2025 year program.
So I guess we got also think about, is there such thing as rejection on those grants?
It's how much money they have, how well you write your grant, so not everyone gets something. So they start at the top, and based upon need, and how well you answer all the questions and show the need for the community. So that's why it's good to have a grant writer. The grant writer that I spoke to today has been writing grants for both of those, DCD and DCNR for many years.
Very nice. My second question is the status of the skate park.
So we just did infiltration testing through the engineering firm. We're waiting for those results to come back. Once that occurs, then our bid packet will be firmed up, handed off to DCNR so they can review it, and then once they okay, then we can open it up for a bid. So the bid should be going out sometime late there.
Thank you. John, thanks for everything.
Thank you,
Thanks
Ted.
for bringing me up to speed on the start.
You're welcome.
Everyone, have a good holiday.
Thank you. And at the moment, I would also like to reach out to Kevin Wyatt for, it was about 6 or 8 years that you were on Parks and Rec.
6 years.
And thank you for your service to the community and all the things that you accomplished in that 6-year term.
I'll be opening it up, John, if I could have a couple of comments.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, it was 6 years. When I reflect on those, the smallest amount that I could do is just to express gratitude for what you did. In multiple months of those 6 years, you attended the meetings. You didn't have to, but you did. You didn't stare at your phone. You engaged, eye contact. You met with everybody that asked questions. You advised, you facilitated collaboration, on and on and on. So I think you made Parks and Rec a better committee. I think it served the community better. And so thank you for that. The time you put in and the advice you provided, and we got appreciate it.
Enjoyed working with you, and we had a good group of people to work with. Thank you.
We did.
That concludes our department reports at this point. So now it's time to turn to item G, new business. So we're going to look at the resolution 20-2023.
I will state that I typically don't correct Kristy, but I will correct Kristy. Number 7 does actually list public comment shall be limited to those present in the meeting.
Yes, but I was talking about on the agenda tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not the resolution.
Yeah, the comment was, I believe, directed towards what the resolution was talking about this evening. And again, I believe Beth, if she needs to speak about how it meets the sunshine law requirements, having public comment person. I've advised the board why I believe it's a good thing, and also why there could be not such great actions from it. So I feel that the board can either accept it as it is or remove that or however it was good.
Well, I did want to make some comments on it. So we did have a resolution 1-2012, and it was in force for 2 years. We rescinded it because we had received some comments about the extent of time. I said that 4 minutes was not sufficient time, and then they had some other comments with the understanding that we would address it at some future date. Well, it took about 8 years to come back to it. Now, the copy of the rules that we're showing, and we've been showing for, I would say, since March of 2022, that came from Euclid Township. And the one thing that, when I compare the resolution that we have and to some of the other municipalities and to what we had in 2012, 2012 was addressing comments and not conduct. So that really stood out to me, that we were not looking to control the conduct of the residents, because the problem is when you come into a public meeting, one of the first things you do is say, when can I speak? You know? So that's just a guidance for people to come in, they grab a copy of the agenda, and I have attended the meetings throughout Chester County. I went to West Goshen and others, so I had a file of all these different agendas. You flip them over, and this was common practice. So the one that we happened to use was from Euclid Township. Now, if you look at Euclid Township, what they have on their website today, it's not the one that we have here. In fact, the public comment that they were getting, they felt that it was putting a gag order on their residents. So they modified it. And the one thing that I thought was good that I've seen across several municipalities is they do refer to Section 701 of the Sunshine Law. So this is when they updated, they were saying that they were abiding by that. So I think that would be helpful if that was included. But also, when you look at the time frame in our 2012 resolution, we allowed up to 15 people to speak, where this will only allow up to 10 people to speak. Because if you do the math, it's 3 minutes per person, 30 minutes, that's only 10 people get a chance to speak. In the past, we had 4 minutes, and I believe that was over 15 people in an hour session. So those are some of the things that I wanted to point out that I felt were inconsistent or not providing simply how to conduct the meeting and allowing people to speak, as opposed to conducting. Oh, and also there was another item on that former one where it allowed people who could not attend the meeting but wanted something on the agenda could submit that ahead of time and have it posted, even though they were not going to be present. So that was missing from our this resolution that we have. So those are some of the points that I feel that I did ask last month. Was it last month, if we wanted to deliberate and to discuss this over the workshop meeting. These are some of the things I think we could have covered if that was included on that agenda. So I'll throw it back to my board, Tracy and Laura.
Well, so is your suggestion that we wait until we can talk about it in the workshop? Wait, this is your last meeting.
This is my last meeting, so it's what you have to have something that you can work with. That's really what it comes down to. So I looked at what we had in the past, what's in front of us today, and I pointed out some of the things that there's no rush to put it through if you were to bring it up in your next workshop meeting and review it, or your option is to approve it tonight.
I thought it was, was it 2 meetings ago that your suggestion was to make it official, and so that's what we did. And
I said that we need to approve it, and then I asked the question if you wanted to approve it as is, or if you wanted to take time to review it. And you said that you were anxious to move forward on it.
yeah, because you, I think, made the comment that you had written it.
I didn't read
You
it.
wanted to approve it.
I never wrote it.
Okay.
It came straight from Euclid Township. In fact, you heard my comment that when Warren was able to say to his wife, "Oh, you need a copy of the Euclid Township rules," I just happened to have one, and that's what is included in here.
But your comment was that at the end of 2022, nothing had been formalized with these rules of conduct.
You never
And then
got that.
Right. So then we moved to have Beth do the resolution.
Yes.
As we're looking at it today.
Yeah.
Right. So,
So I pointed out some of the things that are there and some of the things that are not there. So, it's your choice because you're going to be using it in 2024.
if I could check, just on,
Yeah,
to
go ahead.
one thing you said, John, I mean, as I read what is in what's proposed to the board, to the comment of limiting it to 10 people, it doesn't explicitly say
No, it
that. I
doesn't,
think you're
but it's
taking the
in-
3 minutes.
Yes,
versus-
because there are timeframes.
But
Yes.
there's 2 different sections. There's a section that deals with comments on agenda items,
Yes.
which is what the board under the Sunshine Law has a legal obligation to provide.
Yes.
So the amount of time is 3 minutes per person, but there's not a cap on the total time provided for comments on agenda items. That 30-minute cap is on non-agenda
Yeah.
items, which would be just kind of,
Which it would be.
the open forum,
Yeah.
whatever comes in the door.
Well,
Just from a sub, and
Sure.
that is not
Yeah.
an obligation under the subject. So you have to allow the comments on the agenda items
Right.
at 3 minutes per person for whoever, would want to speak on that item. As this is written, which I think is totally compliant. Just wanted to-
Yeah.
So just to be clear, this is within compliance of the existing Sunshine Act.
Yes.
And it's not in violation of the Sunshine Act whatsoever.
It is not.
So,
And if you'd like, and I can address what Tracy said,
Yeah.
there is no obligation to provide for public comment via Zoom. The township has an obligation to afford the public opportunity to comment on any agenda items on which they may deliberate or take action at that meeting. It is up to the township to provide what that forum is, and I think that an open public in-person meeting is, as it always has, satisfies that requirement. You can add other opportunities, but there's not any legal requirement to do so, to have the public actually make comments via other.
Because they actually have the ability to make comments during a live actual meeting. So that's what we're legally
Correct.
providing them.
And there are people who perhaps can't attend in person, there are people who work evenings.
Yeah.
They can't participate in either of those forums. It's not your job to create, by the law, a forum that is available to all people in all manners at all times.
Yeah,
There is, a different set of standards that we have, kind of disability accommodation type of situation. We deal with those on a one-off basis as needed. But in terms of standard operating procedure, what's here is adequate in this situation.
And if I understood what you had said previously, a lot of the townships are in fact moving to Zoom no comments.
Correct, because it's a lot to work on. And again, questions should be directed to the staff at any point. The questions I answered for Erin, I would have happily answered if she had called or sent an email directly. I know she had comments that come to the board of supervisors, but that's directed at the board. If someone, like I always said, please call on it. I'll be happy to talk through, the situations that the township uses. So, because questions usually have some back and forth and some research, it's probably more advisable to, I would like to give a properly researched answer, and sometimes that is going to ensure that I need to talk to the engineers, with solicitors, or the staff to pull up some historical data. So when I have an answer, I believe, what will make someone have an answer that's clear and concise for them. And again, they can also send emails to the board of supervisors. So there's numerous different ways to have communications with the board of supervisors or the staff. It's not limited to just a public meeting.
Okay.
Any further questions on item 1? All right, do I hear a motion to approve? Do I hear a motion not to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
the motion.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain from that. I'll leave it up to the board to go for it.
If you're going to abstain from the vote.
The reason, because I just felt that it's not consistent with what, the original intent and purpose to, for the discussion of overall conduct, and that's essentially my objection.
So are you saying there's not going to be a point on Zoom where you can make a simple comment?
Well, what did I just hear here? Making comments or?
So we limit it in person.
I'm sorry?
Okay, so when I get COVID, I'll come in, is that what you want?
You can send an email to the board of
I'm
supervisors.
not sending email.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
If I remember correctly, a woman named Valerie said she sent emails and never got any person to make a comment. And in today's day and age, why would you even hold a Zoom? Why would you even hold this as a Zoom where people can listen and participate, but that's as far as it goes. I think that's very unfair.
Okay. Do you hear any comment from the board on that?
I mean, it seems to be to me that someone says an email, so we
Yeah, we made a motion. Yeah.
Yes.
We have a motion.
They motion.
Yeah, we're already at a motion.
Yep.
So Beth, I'm sorry, but we just made a motion on that item. All right. All right, we're ready to move to item 2, public hearing for agriculture security area renewal. So I'll turn it over to Beth.
Thank you, John. This is the place and time designated by notice for a public hearing before the Honey Brook Township Board of Supervisors related to the statutorily required 7-year review of the township's agricultural security area pursuant to Pennsylvania's agricultural area security law. That law provides that the purpose of the law is to provide means by which agricultural land or viable agricultural land may be protected and enhanced as a segment of the Commonwealth's economy and as an economic and environmental resource of major importance. As part of the township's 7-year review and pursuant to requests from landowners, certain properties are being proposed for addition to as well as deletion from the agricultural security area. Specifically, the properties proposed to be added to the agricultural security area are as follows. Parcel number 22-4-81.1, owned by Samuel and Ruth Stoltzfus, containing 10.4 acres. Parcel 22-4-93, owned by Jordan Howell, containing 12.8 acres. Parcel 22-5-7.1, owned by Jordan Howell, containing 2 acres. Parcel 22-7-51.1, owned by Chester and Rebecca Jane Stoltzfus, containing 10.15 acres. And parcel 22-10-59, owned by Gideon and Lavina Stoltzfus, containing 10 acres. The properties proposed to be removed from the security area are as follows. Parcel 22-3-33.2, owned by James Hess, containing 1.465 acres. Parcel 22-4-20, owned by David and Mary King, containing 0.916 acres. Parcel 22-4-41.2, owned by James Arthur and Julianne Bonner, containing 2.4 acres. Parcel 22-4-45.3, owned by Benjamin Jr. and Sherry Zinn, containing 2 acres. Parcel 22-4-45.4, owned by Samuel and Ruth Stoltzfus, containing 2 acres. Parcel 22-5-7, owned by Denise Judy, containing 3 acres. Parcel 22-5-42, owned by Julie Wilson, containing 1.953 acres. And parcel 22-7-93, owned by Charles and Mildred Kennedy, containing 1.459 acres. All other properties currently enrolled in the agricultural security area are proposed to continue to be so enrolled, and a full list of all enrolled properties is available at the township building during normal business hours. The procedural elements relevant to this hearing are as follows. All landowners whose land is currently included in the existing agricultural security area, as well as all landowners that are subject to the proposed modifications just read, were notified by mail of this hearing on Thursday, November 9th, 2023. Public notice of the hearing was duly advertised in the Daily Local News on Friday, November 10th, 2023. Notice of this hearing was given by posting the notice in at least 5 conspicuous places within the township on November 10th, 2023. Pursuant to those notices, any modifications to the proposals for additions to and deletions from the agricultural security area were required to be submitted to the township within 30 days of such notice. Following such notice, the township did receive 1 request for addition to the agricultural security area, which property, parcel 22-4-81.1, has been included in the list of additions that was read this evening, and that property also was included in the list of potential additions that was reviewed by the required reviewing bodies. Those reviewing bodies required to review changes include the Township Planning Commission, Agricultural Security Area Committee, and the Chester County Planning Commission. The Township's Planning Commission reviewed the existing area and proposed changes at its July 27, 2023 meeting. The Township's Land Preservation Committee, acting as the Agricultural Security Area Advisory Committee for the Township, reviewed the same at its August 15, 2023 meeting. And the current area and proposed changes thereto were reviewed by Chester County Planning Commission, which provided its overall review of the existing area and changes by correspondence dated September 28, 2023. With that, at this time, we would open the floor to anyone from the public that has comments on the proposed modifications to the agricultural security area. Hearing none, we will now close said hearing.
All right.
Please be advised that anyone aggrieved by the decision or action of the board tonight has the right to appeal that decision at the Court of Common Pleas as provided in the Agricultural Area Security Law. And that concludes your hearing.
Thank you, Beth. All right, we'll move to item 3, approve, not approve, resolution 2003-17, authorizing agricultural security area ASA renewal, additions and deletions for 2023. So I hear a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, let's move to item 4, approve, not approve, the list of bills for payments as prepared by the treasurer. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, we go to item 5, authorize, not authorize the 2024 budget. Any additional comments on this item before we consider a vote? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to authorize or not authorize the 2024 budget?
I'll make the motion with
Okay, a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to say no to this item, not authorized. One of the things that I felt that some of the items on here, for instance, the tuition reimbursement, I think that should be covered in our human resource manual. That should not be one-off to one of the employees. That there should be comparable benefits across the board to all the employees of the township. Also, I feel that the amount is rather excessive because I know from my dealings that level of reimbursement per year is rather high. And in addition to that, on a couple items, the operating reserve, we usually cap that at 350. It's showing at 387. So that 27,000 should be returned to the general fund as what we've done in the past. So there's a few items I feel that were missing on this budget. So I not authorize. And just for the sake of consistency, before we move forward, on the resolutions, some of the line items on our agenda are showing year and then the number of the resolution, but our naming convention is the opposite. So when we get to the next item, item 6. All right, let's move that to that item 6 would be setting the township real estate tax levy for 2024 at 1.35 mils. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Do I hear a second?
And just as a reminder, that's the same as 2023. I'll make the second.
I'm sorry, what was that?
That our taxes did not go up. I'll make the second.
Yes, they did not go up. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Item 7, just to note that the attachment is showing 2022-18, so I think you caught that one?
So the one you're going to
Okay.
sign has.
It will be the correct date, thank you. Okay. Let's go to item 8, then authorize, not authorize, excuse me, I'm reading ahead. Approve or not approve resolution 2023-18, setting the fee schedule for 2024. Do I hear a motion to
I'll make
approve?
the motion.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's go to item 8, authorized, not authorized, township manager to list the township 2003 Chevy Malibu on municipal for sale. All right, do I hear a motion to authorize?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's, we're bound to lose it, Kristy. You know, that looks like a monument back there.
It's
All those years.
Somebody might want it.
Yes, okay. Item 9, if anyone noticed out there that the car sitting out there, Kristy can attest to it. All right, let's go to item 9, authorized, not authorized, resolution 2023-21, Act 247, plan revision for land development, Twin County Business Park, tax parcel numbers 22-3-69, 22-3-80, is that correct? Okay, 22-3-75.5 and 22-3-75.5A. So do I hear a motion to authorize?
I'll make the motion authorize.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, let's move ahead to, okay, that takes care of our new business. Right, whoops, where am I? Turning the wrong page, yep, it's on the wrong page. We do have item 10 here. Item 10, authorize, not authorize the township secretary to sign on behalf of the township on the grant application for the Elverson-Honey Brook Emergency Medical Services EHB-EMS replacement vehicle. And this is resolution 2322, so do I hear a motion to authorize?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 11, approve, not approve the resolution 2023-23, authorizing real estate tax collection by the Chester County Treasurer.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 12, authorize, not authorize a final release of funds for Sweetwater Woodworks, 6354 Emery Road, tax parcel number 226-20, in the amount of $52,325 for completed stormwater improvements and the sill work related to land development. Do I hear a motion to authorize?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 13 is authorize, not authorize, a partial release of funds for Chestnut Ridge Stage 1, Chestnut Tree and Greason Roads, tax parcel 22-8-52.3, in the amount of $19,800. Do I hear a motion to
I'll
authorize?
make the motion.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Item 14, authorize, not authorize for partial release of funds for Chestnut Ridge Stages 2 and 3, Chestnut Tree and Greason Road, tax parcels 22-8-52.5 and 22-8.52.4, respectively, in the amount of $180,180.35 for completed site improvements. Do I hear a motion to authorize?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Just to let you know, 13 and 14 are both Chestnut Ridge, but for the 2 different stages of development. So now we go to item 15, authorize, not authorize a partial release funds for Elmer Kaufman, 1333 Beaver Dam Road, 22-10-8.1, in the amount of $20,135 for stormwater controls. Do I hear an authorize?
I'll make the motion.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Finally, we move to item 16, authorize, not authorize a partial release of funds for Honey Brook Estates, also known as Sweetwater Farm, 5331 Horseshoe Pike, 22-7-49.1E, in the amount of $66,974.49 for completed site improvements.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That concludes our new business. So we're showing no other new business. We're also showing no old business. So now we go to our open forum on any other matters. So So I'll turn to this side of the room. Do we have any comments, questions that you would like to raise? I see a question, please.
I just have a question regarding the commenting on Zoom. What was the reason for not allowing people to comment on Zoom?
You talking about Beth's comment?
Yeah, like why would we not allow people on Zoom to make comments?
Well, one of the things, there may be people getting on the call that don't belong there. They could get onto the meeting, tonight. Township residents, that's one thing, but we do have the ability to control new people on the call. But I will defer to Beth. I think you had covered earlier.
I mean, I wasn't necessarily giving
Okay.
specific guidance on whether
Good.
you should or shouldn't.
Yeah.
I was just
One
wondering.
one of the things that I personally thought was when we have, a land preservation meeting or a planning commission or park and rec, that makes someone have to be responsible for bringing equipment and allowing people monitoring the room and allowing them out of the waiting room and into the waiting room, instead of just being a participant in the meeting. I mean, now you're gonna basically have to have, a monitor.
So currently, because people can turn on their video and they can have access to their microphone, they have to be in a waiting room just to make sure that it's not a Zoom bomb, that hundreds of people go in. So what happens in some of the meetings is people, as they show up later, again, I have an access system here that this whole screen just takes care of Zoom. The other boards typically don't have that, so someone would have to get up here at beep and walk over and go into the meeting to let someone in. So sometimes people don't ever get let in because they just don't realize that they're there. So by removing the ability to have the pictures so that we can hold signs and talk and to scream and yell vulgarities, moving to this route, we can just let everyone come in and go as they please. So there is no waiting room. So if people want to join late, it's not going to be disruptive to the other boards that might not have someone sitting here. It just allows someone to listen, and it just makes it easier that way.
To that point, I mean, the one difficulty that from a Sunshine Act it actually can create is if you advertise that you will accept the public comments via technology, and there's a problem with the technology, you actually could potentially run into questions of whether you have properly provided the opportunity, because you said they could make their comments via that platform, and then the system goes down. They didn't get to make the comment they wanted to because they relied upon that as the adequate form. The board takes the action. If at the outset the policy is, this is the forum where we guarantee you can make your comments, you sort of avoid that potential procedural difficulty.
And then I have a question. I'm not really familiar with the, I don't know, what we call them, play-it funds that you have the money invested in.
Yeah.
Seems like there's a lot of money in some of those accounts. Is that like FDIC insured money? Or how does that work?
Well, the FDIC would be banks and
Yeah.
deposits. So this is investing in short-term, minimum,
They're not
like
like
a
money
month or
market
something. Yeah.
accounts, they're not money market accounts, they're just invested accounts. Could they lose money potentially?
So they hold, I would encourage you to go to pliget.com and read up on the organization, how they're structured, how the government has permitted them to operate and invest with municipal funds. I don't want to give you misinformation. I would encourage you just to go to pliget.com, where all of their, how they operate, under what end options, the services, and how they're permitted to operate within the Commonwealth. I think I'd ask that you go to that location, read up, and then if there's specific questions, I could reach out to our contact and get those more specific answers.
Yeah, I was just curious. I know you're making a lot of money on interest in this right now, but I didn't know if there was risk involved as well.
The short answer is the government can't invest in ways that they lose money. And so this is a tool that allows you to check all the procedural requirement boxes, have investments that can grow while running, not running afoul of the market crashing and all of a sudden the township and your taxpayer dollars disappearing.
Oh, Aaron, to your point, we did look into township finances a few years ago, and one of the things we did pass up on Legion, we should have done that a few years earlier. We had been told, advised that we didn't have enough funds, and the funds that we did have, we were turning over cash quickly, that it wouldn't be, but that was not the right advice. So we did take the right step last year to go in that direction, and it has benefited us. Another thing that we did look into was the fact that when this building was financed, the bank did not charge us enough interest, premium. So we were paying insufficient money towards that mortgage payment, which means when we came to our last payment, we didn't have a balloon payment, and they said it could have been in the area of $1 million. So it is helpful that you're asking the right questions. We appreciate that, because as a board, we need to be looking into the different options. And what I found valuable over the years, having worked with the COG, one of our participating municipalities, East Brandywine, one of their township manager taught the budget at PSATs. So we had the benefit of having someone who was knowledgeable in the law and could provide. So that's what I encourage. It's a public meeting, and it's usually the last Wednesday of the month. So if you have the interest of time, we also are moving that organization to doing Zoom meetings and moving forward. So that I think you'll find that across the board with a lot of organizations going in that direction. We're doing that with Cato. In fact, I was on Cato for 18 months. We never met in person. We always did the virtual meetings.
Actually, Section 708 of the second-class township code states that all township funds need to be deposited with an FDIC-insured institution.
Very good.
But FDIC usually only insures up to a certain amount.
Yeah.
Typically.
Correct. Again, Pliget literally has its own educational section within here that tells you about Act 10 resources, investment sheets. There's educational webinars that are all free that really walk you into detail about the investment strategy and why it's permitted, as Beth had indicated, that they're buying short-term federal debt. So again, you click on it, pull down their menu, there's Act 10 resources about the programs, yields, how to invest, educational webinars, facts and contacts. So again, if you have questions as a resident about that program, I just direct you really to the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, and literally get the answer from them.
And how much did the township make again in Pliget interest? What was it, 300 or 300?
I think we need currently through November over $360,000, and then we have a bunch of investments maturing in December. So I think we're forecasting close to about half.
Yeah. So over the years that would have been something, but then we didn't have the balance that we had in the land preservation fund as well. But the other thing to finish on that point was that by looking at, they brought in a mortgage broker, and he was able to find another bank with a lower payment and a lower interest rate, and we got that straightened out. But as I said, if we hadn't looked into it, 10 years from now, we'd have been in for a big surprise. I think that covers, you're sorry, on this side, yes.
Yes, I want to address a couple of the comments that were made to essentially justify what I think is suppression of free speech. Your indication that it's challenging to let people into the room, it's a matter of pushing a button. It's really not that complicated. And quite frankly, I'd rather us see people who attend late maybe not be able to get in than penalize the people who did show up on time and want to make a comment. And also to the comment that, we're potentially saving the township from any sunshine law violations by advertising that they have the ability to make public comment. I have not seen anywhere where the township ever advertised that. So I don't think we're really saving the township any risk in that regard. Again, I think we're working towards being less transparent and less open. And I think we all forget that government is by the people, of the people, and for the people. That's what our government is supposed to be about. This is our government. We pay taxes, and people should be able to make comments either via Zoom or in person. And, you know, I'm assuming that even Technicon would not be able to make comments by Zoom either anymore then. So we're severely limiting ourselves by doing this, and I think it's not a good look for the township.
Thank you. Any other questions on this side of the room?
Well, do we want to address that I believe
Oh, yeah, yes.
Mike would come into a meeting of the Board of Supervisors. I don't believe we would disallow him to make comments.
We can permit access and screens and sharing and communication by those that are working for the township, or if the Board of Supervisor has to work remote. It's not that we turn off the ability, that in general, that is how the settings are. And we can get people in, we can make
They're part of the meeting.
absolutely.
Yeah, that are part of the meeting.
Yep.
Not that the public is not part of the meeting, I don't imply that.
That are meant to be.
Right, that are
That's
staff that have.
But does the sunshine law have to give anyone who is a contractor that ability?
The sunshine law doesn't address, the sunshine law addresses the public, not how the board conducts its meetings. The board is allowed to participate electronically in meetings, including those that they invite to the meeting for relevant purposes.
Two other questions as far as, we have an elected auditor this year, so is the auditor sworn in like the township supervisor? Is that correct? Or
It's an appointment.
They take the oath of office.
yeah, okay. So, would you have to make arrangement, like, how does that go about?
The township has a form for the oath of office. I think whoever that individual is can contact the township manager, arrange time to do that. Gets notarized, is take the oath before notaries afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anybody who's elected to step and take the oath of office, they don't have to be here. They can just do it in front of a notary that's indicated to come into the township.
They can get sworn in on the January 2nd.
It has to be before a notary or a judge.
Judge,
So,
living magistrate.
All right, on Zoom, any comments?
Yeah, John Kristy from 17 Matthew Drive.
Yes, Rich?
First of all, I just want to echo everybody's thank you for your service to the township and community over the last dozen plus years, and going back to the Philadelphia Little League and your service for our country, so thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
I just have a quick question about whether or not we can get assistance from the township on getting PP&L and or PICO, whoever owns the telephone pole at the end of Kristy and Chestnut tree that was currently being hung up by a rope that is becoming more and more slack. And I am concerned about our, we have snow and salting services with a raised bed, belt, if that's going to pull that rope and cause a major power outage. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but it's been that way for probably over a year now, or close to a year. And that rope that is holding that severed telephone pole is going to be a problem in the winter with heavy snow.
Did you say, is that on Route 10? Because I know there was,
No.
there's another location you're talking about, yeah.
It's Chestnut Tree and it's Gracie.
It's on the
Chestnut
Chestnut
Tree.
Tree side on West Manville, is it not?
Well, the rope goes across on our side, so it's our side that's slacking, and it's actually anchored on where Chestnut Ridge development is. And it comes out, if you take a look at it, it's more and more slack. So if there's either one of our township trucks or a Pico truck that is delivering salt on roads and the bed is raised, it will take that entire telephone pole down.
Can you reach back out to PPL? We can reach out to PPL tomorrow and just remind them that it's still,
Yeah, I'm sure Don Johnson sees it. Don Johnson probably sees it when he does this stuff too. I would think that's the last thing we want to have happen. and it's been that way for so long, it's been neglected by DPL.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah,
Thank you guys, thank you again.
have a good night. Yes, we have one more question.
So I'm being penalized for working and supporting my family and putting a roof over their heads and food on the table, instead of being here in person. That's why I go to Zoom, because I can't be here. And 2 years ago, I was here when I got the zoning letter about the DR Horton thing.
Right.
Valerie was here with me, and I spoke up, and we've been coming ever since. My schedule is not the same. You know, it varies from time to time. Sometimes I can get out of work early and get here like halfway through. Sometimes I can't. And I feel like you are taking my right of speech to voice on a Zoom. Like I'm being penalized for working for my family when I can't attend a meeting.
Well,
That's not right.
but 2 points.
And it's not just me. I'm sorry, John. It's not just me. It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
We have people that are taking care of their elderly parents and can't get out, you know, that might have a question. All I ever seen were short, simple questions. You know, nobody's gotten negative, swore and cussed and all that, or had made you go back to you know, well, I gotta go look that up. It was just a comment in regards to probably somebody else's comment, or like this, you know, in regards to the Zooming. So what do? Turn my back on my community after it's been screwed for so many years? That's why I'm here. I just happen to have the day off. So what do I do to protect my rights?
Well, I believe there's channels where you could go through the state, and, you know, as far as rules guiding townships, you could reach out to the state representative to say that you don't feel that your voice is being heard locally, but you know, there are rules and regulations concerning, you know, and from what I heard tonight, the prerogative is this aspect is back to the township. Right? Well, here again, I keep going back to the COG. When we are on the western edge of the county. We're in one of the wealthiest counties in the state, but we have some municipalities that are really struggling. So when we join together and we take like a technology solution and we join with Honey Brook Borough and all that, share the cost instead of having a burden on one person in the township having all the administrative responsibilities. There's options to us. We got to explore them, and we got to move forward because you know, they're out there.
I attended one of the COGs with you.
Yes. Remember
You
that?
know.
And we had an EAC meeting too.
Yes.
Yeah. And the same thing, they invited us, we were on there, they allowed us to speak. I mean, it's a new age for a lot of people too. But at the same time, we want to make sure that, you know, we accommodate people who want to be in person and follow those rules.
So it's just more handy for the board of supervisors then?
Well, I'm finishing up here.
I know,
but,
I know, and I love you, John, I think you did a great job. I'll talk to you later, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
this is not right. I mean, can you go to a civil rights lawyer?
I can't provide legal advice, but explore it because, you know, there's so many options and stuff, you know, and the other thing is when you're on some of the blogs and stuff, you throw a question out there and somebody out there might be able to steer you in the right direction, but you also have to be concerned that somebody don't take you in the wrong direction. So, yeah, I mean, our rights are important to us, and we can't let them slip away.
And they are slipping away. We're coming from 2023, going into 2024, back to 1980.
All right.
Thank you.
Excuse me?
Do I hear another comment?
Yeah, it's just me, it's me, Debbie. This isn't the only, okay, I've been in many other chat or Zoom calls, and there are some of them that, yes, we don't get to say anything.
Yeah.
That's the rules, and we abide by. We don't all get our choice of
because we had so many disruptions, we got no place. So now we have rules of conduct. That's why we have a board make a decision, and that's why we have to follow.
But you
But
promised not to
Debbie, you
disrupt us.
also,
Wait a second, please. Okay,
Right,
let her finish her point, yes. Yes.
There's my point. Case closed. I don't really need to say anything more, I guess,
Okay,
because that's why I pursued this. So I don't need to say anymore.
good.
I don't always get my way. I don't need to say anymore. My point was taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Last questions, comments that we'd like to make before we close for 2023?
Can I say something, please?
Yes, go ahead.
I would just like to say that I thank my husband for his 12 years of service, dedication. John was amazing. He took calls on Sundays, he took calls on Saturdays, he took calls at 10 o'clock at night, he took calls in between working. My husband did a fabulous job, and there are times, like somebody said, yep, we've got to put aside a little bit. I'm saying another call, but this is who John is. He was an amazing township supervisor, and I want to thank him for his service, and everybody should feel that they're very fortunate to have had him serving for 12 years. Thank you.
And you put up with me for 35. Had a certain
Almost 3 times as well. Mine was 1
All right. I wish, thank you, Beth. I'd like to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and let's look forward to a new year, 2024. Good luck to everyone. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone, for joining tonight.
meetings. Correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
No. We want to make it a balance. You don't disrupt the goddamn fire.
Hello. How are you? Did you have fun? If I had fun.